My name is Roxanne, and welcome to this quick set entitled Finding Your Feet in the Workplace. We all know that starting a new job can be scary at the most times, or even a little bit overwhelming. However, don't worry. In this quick set, I'm going to help you understand how to navigate the working environment, understand different business functions and structures, as well as outline the importance of contractual agreements, plus much more. So why don't we get started? When you start a new job or even apply for a new job, it's really important to understand the type and structure of that business. Most businesses fall into specific categories, and let's see how many of these you've heard of. Take a look at the screen. Here are some of the most common business structures that most businesses fall into. There's charity, business to business, sometimes called B2B, business to consumer, B2C, independent, chain, startup, scale up. There are many more business structures that exist, but here are just a few we want to highlight. How many of these have you heard of before? Perhaps you've even had a part-time role or know of someone who's worked in a business that falls into one of these categories. For example, your local coffee shop on the end of your road most likely would fall into the independent business structure category, whereas your local Starbucks or even Nando's would fall into the chain business category. It's important to note that business structures can mainly be defined by size, whereas a company like BT would fall into the business to business and business to consumer category. Let me tell you why that is. This is because BT as a company provides consumer services such as broadband to customers like me and you, but also has an enterprise part of their business where they provide services to over 1.2 million UK businesses, helping to keep them connected. Another great example is Lucozade and their parent company Suntory, who are a corporate global organization. 55% of their business is in food and non-alcoholic beverages. 34% of their business is in alcoholic beverages, leaving 11% on other investments. They have around 40,000 employees worldwide who all come under Suntory as a business. Lastly, have you ever heard of the term startup? If you have, great. If not, don't worry. Startups are usually early stage businesses with up to around 50 to 250 employees. Remember, earlier we said size usually helps us identify the type of business structure a company has. There are a number of startup businesses across the UK, and you could actually find yourself working within one. Or maybe you could end up working for a charity. Charities are usually non-for-profit organizations, meaning that their activities as a business are not for financial benefit of shareholders. In fact, there are no shareholders. Oxfam, Good Gym, and War Child are all examples of registered charities. So remember, sometimes a business can fall under more than one business structure, and it's important to look at the size, mission, and type of service your business provides, which will help you identify the business structure you work within. Departments. Now we understand business structures in a bit more detail, let's take a look at different departments that exist within the average businesses. First and foremost, what does the word department even mean? Believe me, that's a word you're going to hear a lot when you start your new role. Simply put, a department is a specific division of a company/business. Let's pause for a quick activity. On screen, I have listed 2 business departments, human resources and finance. Can you think of 3 more? How did you get on? If you got all 3, make sure you big yourself up. I know this one was a little tricky, so let's break each of these down in a bit more detail. Human resources, sometimes referred to as people and culture, they're responsible for managing the employee life cycle, from recruiting, hiring, onboarding, training, and deployment of employees. Finance, they're usually responsible for obtaining and handling any monies on behalf of an organization. Legal, they're responsible for handling compliance law, shareholder agreements, and regulatory requirements. Marketing, they're responsible for coordinating and producing all material and content for a business. Operations, again, they're responsible for making either a product, providing a service, as well as keeping track on everyday operations. You may have heard of these departments before. Remember, no matter the size and structure of a business, most businesses will have these 5 departments. However, one thing to highlight is that the amount of people that work within these departments may vary. For example, remember your small independent coffee shop on your road? The human resources department might just be the owner and the co-founder, whereas in a company like BT or Lucozade, for example, the human resources department could consist of anywhere of up to around 50 to 100 people. Maybe there's a department we've put on screen that you are interested in working within. It's important to understand what your department's function and role is within the business. To help us understand this a little more, let's speak to 2 amazing guest speakers. Charlie Lucy, an assistant brand manager for Lucozade Alert, and Jessica Martin, an assistant brand manager for Ribena.
My name's Charlie. I'm an assistant brand manager on Lucozade Alert.
I'm Jess. I'm at Suntory, obviously, with Charlie, but I'm in the Ribena team. And I think it's 2 months into the role now, so very new. First job out of uni, so just a bit of context there.
The first main question coming to you both would be, how did you go about familiarizing yourself with the size and scale of your organization that you're working within?
For me, some of the things that have really helped are hopefully really super simple. So it's having in the first sort of 3 to 4 weeks some key inductions set up with relevant departments and heads of those departments to kind of get a steer of what everyone's doing. And that's something that you can kind of get set up by someone on your team and or line manager. Your line manager is there to help you induct into your role. And that's not just doing the role, it's also being part of the culture. And so they're always going to be there to kind of lend their ear and offer any advice. And then also you can kind of look for a kind of work mentor, whether or not that's a specific work mentor that you're given or whether or not you kind of ask someone to kind of be your buddy. Again, if you ever feel like you don't ask your manager what you like deem as a stupid question, like if you've got a friend that you can kind of turn to, they'll kind of hopefully be your support. And those are kind of some of the ways that I've really navigated the business over the course of the last sort of 8 to 9 months.
Yeah, I would say very, very similar answer to Charlie. But basically, I think don't put too much pressure on yourself to know everything from the moment you start. And I think it's really easy to do that and to get in your head a little bit and think, oh, I should know this, I should know that. But I think just take it easy. In those first few months, because you've got the time, spend a significant amount of it kind of like researching and just learning and just upskilling yourself. Because like we said, you're not expected to really kind of deliver like big projects when you first join the business. So use that time to really get to know people and just learn as much as you can.
Thank you both. And I think you both mentioned really great points, especially just around, networking with people within your organization. And I know, Charlie, you mentioned potentially finding a work mentor, and mentors are really, really big for us here at Apprentice Nation. So it's nice to know that even if you are starting a new role, reaching out to the people around you and just kind of creating that support system can really, really help. Can either of you share any more information about the different departments and the teams you work within and maybe how these are set up?
So within marketing, we're split by brand. So obviously, like me and Charlie, yes, we're in the same function, but we're in different teams. And then you've got finance team, supply, which is all about kind of the first stage of the process and all of that. And then you've got commercial, and sales, which is about kind of strategy, and then obviously selling into customers. And then you've got a category team, which to us are so many teams, but which kind of focus on kind of insights into the category and kind of working with the customer and with us. And then we've got the research and development team, which is about kind of creating those new products, which is super exciting.
Alongside finance, we also have our procurement team, which effectively helps to manage our kind of contracts with our suppliers and our partners that we work with to sort of deliver, our products, but also our marketing comms, etc. And then we also have our kind of sensory team that also work alongside our R&D team, who effectively do a lot of the doing in terms of the new product development. So actually in terms of looking at what is the actual liquid and how is that developed. And then we have also PMO support. So this is people who are basically project managers to help kind of ensure that, because there's so many teams and so many functions, that we're kind of delivering our projects to time and scale. I think we've mentioned like the buzzword kind of cross-function team, and we do work with all of these departments. Now, that's why it's really important to spend time getting to know each department and what it is and what they do.
So just finally, guys, we're going to be exploring contracts in a bit more detail. And I wanted to get your thoughts both on, how you felt when you received your first employment contract here. Did you find it easy to navigate? Were there any points you had to call out or get amended?
Generally, like, contracts are one of those ones that feel a little bit daunting just because they are rather large. I've worked and had quite a few roles since I left university, and every time it's always the same. There's always so much information to read, and really kind of all you're excited about at that time is that you've got the job that you've kind of interviewed for. I think one of those ways to kind of combat such a large kind of very legal document is just to take a bit of time, and it is probably a little bit boring to say that, but it's good to kind of digest all of the information. And I think if there's things that you're not understanding, that's absolutely fine, because it's not necessarily written in the most user-friendly or consumer-friendly kind of tone. Just a bit of a simple tip that I've always found super handy when sort of reading my contract is kind of going through and highlighting, whether or not that's digitally on the screen, on Word, or such Adobe, or if that's printing out a physical version, if you're a bit more old school like myself, getting a highlighter and just going through all of the bits that maybe you want to either question or things that don't make sense to you. And then, it's just then turning around to either a peer or family member and or the HR person that you're liaising with to kind of question those points and get that clarity.
I think what I did was I also went through it with someone, like in my for example, my parents, something who've got experience of like having multiple roles, being in like dealing with multiple contracts, just to kind of get. I know sometimes you're not going to pick up on everything yourself, so it's always good to have an extra pair of eyes.
Those are really great insights, Bo. Thank you again very much for your time today. It's been really great. And hopefully everyone has some really great tips for navigating their working environment. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that was really insightful. It was great that Charlie was able to share his breadth of experience and Jessica came from a newbie perspective. Remember, here at Apprentice Nation, we have over 100 mentors in various industries from various company sizes, which can help you get ready for the working world, as well as provide you with useful tips and advice to help you navigate your new role. Remember to check out our list of mentors on our website, as there may be a mentor that's just right for the business structure and department you're going to be working in. Before you start any job, you should always be given a contract. Some may be in the form of a formal document, others may be a simple email. Whether you're a full-time employee, freelancer, providing creative work, or a part-time contractor, an employment contract sets out an agreement between you and your employer. It will outline your employment rights as well as duties and responsibilities. It is illegal to provide any services to a company or employer without receiving an employment contract. So it is very important you have received one and you read through it. There are good examples and bad examples of employment contracts. Take a look at your screen now. Contract 1 clearly outlines some of the points we mentioned above, whereas Contract 2 is much shorter in size and does not have the main points listed above. The second contract is quite vague, and this would be an example of a bad contract. This can lead to a lot of confusion about what you're responsible for in your role, how much you should be getting paid, and much more, which could end up being a disastrous situation. It's really important to review your contract and regularly refer to it throughout your employment in case anything changes. As we can see, contracts can exist in different shapes and sizes, and now I want to head over to one of our amazing artists, Karis, and hear about her experience with navigating her working world, as well as her experience with contracts in the industry. It's so lovely to be here with the wonderful Karis. How are you today, Jazz?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about navigating your working environment. Obviously you are in the music industry, and I know that it can be quite overwhelming being in any kind of industry, but how do you kind of navigate the industry that you're in?
I think it's a lot of like trial and error, trust in the process, having like people you trust around you, and also knowing to like let other people do what they're really good at.
Yeah, so having like a really good support system.
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
that like through your team, your management, friends, family?
Yeah, definitely team, management, all of what you listed. And I think just like not trying to do everyone, like not to wear too many hats.
Of course. And would you say, was there anything that really shocked you about coming into the industry, or anything you wasn't like prepared for?
There's a lot. There's a lot.
You can unpack that.
But a short answer would be yes. I think everyone says it's hard, but you don't realize actually how hard it is until you do it. How many like no's you maybe expected were going to be yeses, things like that. I think it's just the amount of different obstacles you have to overcome.
Of course. Thank you. And slightly different, but still related. Obviously, you know, before you do any kind of work anywhere, contracts are super important, and you have to have one before you do anything. What's your experience been like with contracts and kind of negotiating? Has it been positive, or has it been quite negative?
I think like a contract, like you said, is standard, so you can't like take anything personally. And also that's what you kind of have a lawyer for. A lawyer is very important. Like I said, don't try and understand things you don't know. And I think, as long as I think trust your gut. And as my experience with it has just been standard, like I haven't had terrible ones. Obviously terrible ones can come across, but you can just send them right back.
Of course. I think what you said there is really important, getting people to look over it and just reviewing it for you. Well, thank you so much, Jazz. It's been great speaking to you.
Of course, you too.
Artists look over so many contracts, so those insights from Jazz Karis were so useful and helpful. Remember, if there's anything that needs to be amended in your employment contract or doesn't look right, you need to flag this to your employer so that any changes can be made if needed. Be prepared at times. This might be a negotiating conversation. Wow, what a jam-packed quick set. Today we've covered so much, but hopefully you're feeling ready to navigate the working environment and feel so much more confident about either starting your new role or looking for your new role. Don't forget to check out these quick sets on your screen now. These will continue to help you get ready to navigate the working environment and unlock your potential. I want to leave you with a quote. How can you know what you're capable of if you don't embrace the unknown?